America, land of the free and home of the neurotic. We Americans, with our freedoms, like to eat highly processed meats, drive big cars, wear pajamas in a crowded Walmart while buying highly mass-produced goods, and shoot vast quantities of firearms. Hey, it's Koda. Today, we're talking about hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. A VR game that since its launch has been one of the best firearm shooting galleries on Steam. With over 500 weapons to choose from, ranging from pistols to LMGs, guns from the late 1800s to the modern day, guns that are sci-fi in nature to just the absolutely absurd. There is something here for everyone. So strap in. I have a lot to say about what this game has to offer. Okay. So before I go any further, I want to disclose, I am not a gun expert. I know some information about firearms, and I have held and shot over 10 guns in my life. But I still do not consider myself an expert to any degree. Most of my research comes from my personal experiences, so if you're the type of person that gets mad when somebody calls a mag a clip or vice versa, just know that I don't care. So, hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades, and what I'll be referring to from here on out, H3VR. Releasing back in 2016, and has come a long way since it first came out. I never played any of these older versions, but I do remember seeing YouTubers play it and having fun with all the weapons and such. It made me want this game so badly. It wasn't until 2021 when I finally got my hands on a Steam Index, and my god, I instantly fell in love with this game. From the way the guns felt in your grips, the vast assortment of weapons, and the game modes were amazing. I was having the time of my life. Then, 2 months later, a fire happened and my index was reduced to ash. So, yeah. A year and a half later, I got to pick it back up with the Quest 2, and it's still a great experience even after all this time. It's actually gotten better since I left. This is of course due to the game's constant and open ongoing development progress from Anton, the game dev. Okay, let's finally get into this. H3VR currently has 26 scenes. You have some sandbox maps like the Sampler Platter, a neat little tutorial for H3VR where you learn some of the core game mechanics and the controls. You got Arizona Range, the Grill House, which is H3's version of a kill house where you can set up different combat scenarios to act out. You have some indoor ranges, one for close and medium distances, then another for really long distances you can use snipers on. All of these maps you can use to customize your weapons and practice your aim. Then you have your game modes like the Meats preview, a shooting gallery game with different modes and a progressive gun leveling system. Return of the Rotwieners, a roguelite game mode where you scavenge for weapons and resources. You fight this game's equivalent of zombies, rotten hot dogs that try to kill you. You have Meat Fortress, a Team Fortress 2 game mode where you play TDM against Team Fortress 2 themed Sosig mercs. All the guns are actual weapons straight from TF2's arsenal. as this game mode is actually endorsed by Valve to an extent, so you know it's good. Then you got Boom Ski. This is just skee ball with grenades. You have this huge ramp and far off targets where you must line up and throw up the ramp and hope that it lands where you want. Racking up a large score is the goal of this game. There's even a global leaderboard where you can compete with others. You have some of the themed game modes like the multiple meatmas maps. Anton likes to celebrate Christmas with yearly advent calendars, in which he counts the days till Christmas by adding new weapons to the game each day. Now I love Christmas, so this idea is perfect to me. I still remember with the Winter Wasteland mode, he made it more of a challenge to get each new weapon by having enemies and a huge map to traverse around to each gun. A map that actually got reworked for Taken Hold. We'll get back to that later. The meatmas globe from last year was a favorite of mine. Never would have expected a map that looks like this to be in a game where you shoot guns. I love it. Okay, now what I really want to talk about is one of H3VR's most fundamental game modes, which would have to be Taken Hold. This game mode is what I have the most hours in. It's so addictive. Its addictiveness comes from the fact that it has such a simple gameplay loop with fast-paced action and a fun weapon progression system. So what do you do in Taken Hold? Well, you start by picking your map, character, or loadout, and edit your game parameters. After that, you'll spawn in a room, usually with a gun case, containing one starting weapon, some kind of melee weapon, and a health pickup. This loadout will vary depending on what character you pick. So after you arm yourself with your starting equipment, you wander around the map and make your way to supply points, which are these blue icons on the map. These places give you the opportunity to grab weapons, tools, and attachments. It's also a place where you can switch out different ammo types, upgrade your magazines, and trade in your weapons for override tokens. Override tokens are what you use to buy things at these supply points. You earn them from completing holds and smashing some of these white crates in the supply rooms. Some of the loadout characters spawn in with a few tokens, except for on-site procurement Patrice. Okay, back on track. After you supply yourself with what you got, you head on down to the hold point marked by this orange icon on the map. You take out any hostile targets and you go ahead and take this objective. This locks you in this room or space, and you must defend yourself as an assault of enemy SOSIGs try to kill you. As this happens, these encryption nodes will spawn around the area, and you must take them out to end the wave. Each time you take a hold, it will increase the toughness and amount of enemies you'll face. Along with this, the amount of encryption nodes will increase, along with their difficulty, as you see by their variations. You have the static encryptions, a stationary 3D diamond that you can destroy in one hit. These guys can spawn in groups of 3 to 8. You have the hardened encryption, which is a cube with 2 sections. It has a black exterior armor section and a red interior that can be shot with 1 bullet. You have to really thread the needle to hit this one, depending on how far you are. These encryptions spawn in groups of 2 to 3. Swarm encryptions. Swarm encryptions are a round core with 3 prisms that you must shoot. But be careful, because if you shoot the center, it'll cause the whole thing to spin, making it more difficult to hit the prisms. This node can spawn in groups of 3 or more. Recursive encryptions. This is a blue pentagon-shaped ball with red nodes that you must destroy while you avoid shooting the blue center, or face the chance of spawning another red prism on the ball. So be patient with this one. Don't go full auto on this guy. Stealth encryption. Much like the static encryption, the only challenge comes from not being able to see the damn thing, aside from the occasional flashing the node gives off. Agile encryptions. These are darts that sporadically jut from one place to another at random. They project a beam of their trajectory, which makes them predictable, especially since the longer you take to hit them, the slower they become. Regenerative encryption. This is a boss encryption, a giant yellow cube that has a regenerative cube core surrounded by more cubes. The center core keeps regenerating, so you have to go back and forth to shoot the center before it has time to fully regenerate itself. Polymorphic encryption. This encryption is just a combination of the recursive and agile encryption. Picking your shots will be vital in ensuring you can defeat this encryption. You must stay mobile to follow the encryption, and fending off enemies will also prove difficult if you encounter this node. Cascading encryption. Shooting at this node will cause all of the cubes to scatter. You gotta shoot at all the other cubes while it's in its scattered state to completely destroy it. Finally, you have the orthogonal encryption. This encryption can look pretty scary, but is relatively easy. It's an 8-sided diamond with lasers shooting out from its points. The 8 faces have 3 targets you must hit. The challenge comes from the fact that it moves around the hold room and occasionally rotates. You can get hit by these beams if you're not paying attention. You can end a run so easily if you misstep, or you are not paying attention while clearing out the room. So take this thing out as soon as possible. Okay, so you have all these crazy encryptions, along with an array of SOSIG enemies. This is starting to get crazy. Now, with every hold you take, another wave of SOSIGs and encryptions is added to the next hold. The total you can get is up to 3 waves, but each one will be harder than the last one. So how are you going to combat all this? Well, as you progress with each hold, the weapons available to you will upgrade as well, and you'll have the ability to buy these with your override tokens that you get with each hold. Progressions are based on what loadout character you decide to pick in the lobby. I'll now go over a few of the characters you can choose to pick now. The Daring Defaults. These characters all have the classic progression system, meaning your weapon selection from supply points will start weak, but get stronger as you progress in the holds. This too goes for the enemy SOSIG's armor and weapons as well. You have access to weapons from all eras and categories with these loadouts. Beginner Blake. As his name implies, he is the go-to character when starting out on take and hold, as he has a large weapon pool with powerful weapons and easy enemy SOSIGs to combat. The hold phases are shorter, and there are a few encryption nodes per wave. Beginner Blake also starts with a high-capacity automatic weapon, a melee weapon, and 2 health pickups. Classic loadout Lewis. Now this guy is a step up from Beginner Blake. His weapon pool has all classes and eras except for meme weapons. This character uses a standard progression system that has SOSIGs armored up to level 3 armor, and holds have encryptions correlating to the hold level. Loadout Lewis starts with a gun, melee weapon, and 1 health pickup. On-site Recruitment Patrice. This character only has 1 item on spawn, a knife. He also gets no starting override tokens, so you'll have to improvise and grab enemy SOSIG's weapons, and use stealth to dispatch enemies. After the first hold, you can buy a firearm. Things go back to being normal, but you will always be a step behind the enemies in terms of firepower, since your funds will be limited, so keep that in mind. Last up in this category is Ricky Dicky Random. With Ricky, you can get any random weapon. It doesn't matter the category or time era, you can get anything from the supply point. From meme guns to missile launchers, this is the class you want if you're just looking to have a little fun and quick game. Alright, so the next category is Wieners Through Time. These characters have progression systems relative to their time frame they represent. Each one of these characters uses only weapons that are exclusive to their time era. Starting off this category, we have Cowwiener Calico. Here we have the earliest we can go back in terms of firearms for this game. This character uses weapons from the Wild West era to the start of World War I. Enemies have no armor, but they still have the capacity to deal a lot of damage, and encryption nodes have a normal progression for holds. Calico starts out with a single action revolver, 1 health pickup, and a small derringer, usually chambered in 22. This is pretty unique to his character, as he's the only one that spawns in with 2 firearms. Grumbly G.I. Grayson. Weapons from the turn of the century till the after years of World War II. This character is where you begin to see a large variety of weapons, as you start to see automatic weapons are introduced into the mix. Enemy Sosigs still have no armor except for helmets, and the progression system is still standard for the most part, making this class relatively normal in difficulty. Grayson starts out with a pump-action shotgun or a bolt-action rifle, a tactical melee weapon, and 1 health pickup. Something I have to ask here before we go on, why are the enemy Sosigs wearing American-style army fatigues? I feel this implies something here.
Die Amerikaner sind da drüben. Scheißen! Ich liebe mein Maschinengewehr.
Soldier of Fortune Frankie. Rev up the Huey and get ready to blast overplayed 1970s rock music. We are using weapons of the Cold War era. This is where almost all your weapons begin to be automatic, and you start seeing some weapons we still use in current day combat. This character feels more in line with classic loadout Lewis, as enemies begin to wear armor in later phases, and your arsenal becomes more modern and tactical. Again, I have to note, the enemy Sosigs still resemble American GIs. So... Alright, finally, Operator Ori. This is your modern day loadout. Similar weapons to what you might see if you play Call of Duty. This class just feels like classic loadout Lewis, as the enemies progress the same way, starting with level 1 armor and going up to level 3. This loadout is a great option if you want to use modern weapons while keeping meme guns out of the weapon pool. Operator Ori starts with a firearm, which may be an automatic pistol, revolver, bolt-action rifle, or pump-action shotgun. He also gets a tactical melee weapon and 1 health pickup. Alright, so now that we're done with that, introducing some of the themed characters with special weapon loadouts and enemies. These are the meme-tastic meats. Kicking off this category, we have Well Done Free Meat. This character is based on Half-Life 2 with its weapon arsenal and enemy Sosigs. You get a special kind of progression system, as the enemies you face are a lot harder and more diverse than the usual enemies. You fight against the Oberwurst soldiers and bread crab zombies. Both take inspiration from the Combine soldiers and head crab zombies respectively. Weapons are restricted to only guns from the Half-Life series, like the USP Match 9mm, Spaz 12, and 44 Magnum. You also see some weapons from Half-Life that are more fictional, such as the Sustenance Crossbow, a meat-themed version of the regular crossbow that uses a burnt hot dog instead of a heated piece of rebar. You also have the Graviton Beamer, this game's version of recreating the gravity gun. It works well, though it might be a bit bulky, especially in the later holds. Finally, we have the Sustenance AR-3, a play on the AR-2. Its machine gun is similar to the AR-2, but its secondary launcher mode uses dark matter lemons, which bounce around and vaporize anything it touches, just like its Half-Life 2 counterpart. This mode can be a bit challenging, especially since you only start off with a crowbar and 1 health pickup. Fighting the Uberwurst can be a bit difficult, and the bread crab zombies can be a bit overwhelming at times. All around, Well Done Free Meat offers a good challenge with a bit of fun theming, especially for those who enjoy the Half-Life franchise. Next up is Zeke Zombie Hunter, H3's own version of a zombie killing theme. You are pitted against various kinds of zombies, hostile civilians, and government pacification units. The big thing about this character is that his weapon pool is limited to civilian-grade firearms, so don't expect any automatic weapons with this guy. Pick your shots carefully, especially in a limited ammo run. You start with only a break-action shotgun, a melee weapon, and a lighter. This class, much like Well Done Free Meat, is fun but challenging. Alright, to round off this section, we have Flaccid Steak. If it wasn't obvious, this guy is a parody of Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Much like Well Done Free Meat, he is limited to weapons that are used in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Things like the MK-23, the FAMAS M1, various missile launchers, and Snake's most advanced piece of equipment, the cardboard box. You start out with only one pack of dings, which is a box of 20 mini sausages that heal you for 25% health. You also get a rangefinder. This is helpful for when you're on bigger maps. You don't get a lot to start with, so just like Patrice, you may need to improvise at the start. At least you do get some override tokens, so you can pick up a pistol before the first hold instead of scrounging around and using Sosig guns. The hold progression is of course normal, but you got some special boss Sosigs at the end of every hold, all themed around Metal Gear Solid characters. As a fan of the Metal Gear franchise, I love this loadout. Alright, so now we only have one more category to go to, and this is the hardest character you can pick and take and hold. He is part of the competitive casings, and at the moment, he is the only one on the roster, and that is Tournament Toby. Tournament Toby is the first take and hold character designed specifically for tournament play. Players begin with a single shot weapon, which then progresses to more powerful automatic weapons. The difficulty scale for the Sosigs and encryptions is high, as on all holds, every Sosig is heavily armed, and encryptions are ramped up in difficulty straight from the first hold. He is a character you can really benchmark your performance, as the various weapon types and enemies you face really test your mastery of the game. Even for someone like me who has over 100 hours in this game, still struggles to get over hold 3 with this character. He is still a relatively new character, so expect some minor tweaks in future updates, but where he stands at this point in time, he is the hardest character in take and hold. Okay, so I know that was a lot, and that was just an overview of the classes. What I'm really trying to say is that H3VR and his take and hold mode, with how simplistic it may be, is a masterclass in game design. Anton, you have perfected this game's formula. And many others think so as well, as there are channels and videos dedicated to just this game mode alone. Also, as well as tournaments are held to get the best times and scores. It's truly one of the best niche VR communities out there. Even after 7 years, this game continues to receive updates, approaching its final stage of development, and as Anton starts working on new projects down the line, it will be the community's responsibility to keep this game going. And what's the best thing to keep a game alive beyond its years? Mods! Now, mods for H3VR, like any other game, is amazing. If you haven't noticed, I have been using mods in a few of the clips that you've seen in this video. Most mods that I enjoy just do things like adding new maps, guns, loadout characters, quality of life, tools, and even new game modes. So if you're willing to try your hand at manual modding, or to use Thunderstore's own mod manager, feel free. Mod at your own risk though. Don't end up going to the wrong website and clicking on an ad banner saying free gas station dick pills. I did, and now I am the proud owner of a warehouse full of fish pills. So, hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. An amazing game, and if you have a PC, a VR headset, and 20 spare dollars lying around, I recommend grabbing this game. With global tensions rising, 2025 is around the corner, and with that, Raul Menendez will soon rise to power. We'll need people who know how to handle a firearm.
My console crashed. What do you got? Can you get in?
Raul Menendez is transmitting a live webcast. He's on right now.
I am going to commit great crime. I'm going to bust nut in water tower.
Okay, but in all seriousness, just get the game. Especially if you're an avid VR fan who also loves firearms. It's also a great tool for those who have never held a firearm to learn some of the basic fundamentals without spending a lot on real weapons and ammo. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like these kinds of videos. I recently just crossed 50 subscribers while making this video, so thank you all for checking out my crazy ramblings. I hope to keep making more videos soon. We have about 1 or 2 more before the year ends, one of which is a best of 2023 video, and many more to come in the leading year. Alright, I have spent way too long working on this damn video, and I need to get it out here soon. Have a great day or night, and eat, or rather shoot, some hot dogs. Thanks for watching.